Hi, I'm Abby and I'm a Senior Lecturer in Design in the School of Humanities and Communication Arts and a member of the Institute for Culture and Society at Western Sydney University. So I'm going to talk about this pilot project, Cooling the Commons, which I worked on with colleagues at the Institute for Culture and Society. Our research takes the position that you can't design a cooler city without involving the people who live there in the process. Drawing on the work of Gibson, Graham, Cameron and Healy, we focus on the commons, that is, the places, resources, practices and knowledge shared and taken care of by a community. The commons, we argue, are critical for building the resilience of communities now and into the future. We engaged with groups of people living in hotspots in Penrith to understand what they think, feel and do to cope with the heat in summer. Hotspots are the purple areas on this map, where temperatures can reach into the high 40s. These hotspots coincide with socially and economically disadvantaged areas, suggesting that heat vulnerability is compounded by other issues including the nature of housing, access to transport and other public infrastructure. Historically, Western Sydney has experienced a very different form of urban development to areas of the city with more dense habitation. Across the 20th century, there was a decline in rural areas associated with food production in the fertile floodplains of the Western Sydney Basin, which is suggested by these images. Planning strategies in the late 20th and into the 21st century rezoned previous greenbelt lands as urban capable. The rapid replacement of agricultural land, grass and bushland with the familiar dark grey roofs and roads of modern housing developments has created environments that exacerbate urban heat. Cooling happens mostly in private environments, generating additional greenhouse gas emissions and keeping people indoors. By some estimates, we're already spending 90% of our time indoors, including in cars. And this comes with a range of health and wellbeing impacts, such as increasing sedentariness and social isolation, and diminishes other possibilities for keeping cool. The communities we spoke to all had strong criticisms of the new developments springing up all around them. As one elderly carer remarked, all this multi-development, high-density units, we are all going to be in a hot dome. The heat is just going to sit on top of us. We need housing, but they are not thinking about how to do it. The senior residents we spoke to had many ideas about how to do it, confounding stereotypes of vulnerability. These people had a high degree of practical knowledge, developing workarounds for keeping cool in their often thermally poor houses, and using available materials and skills learned from their parents. In light of Council's mass tree planting efforts to deliver more cooling canopy to the city, we also asked residents for their thoughts about trees. We showed them a visual index of common trees in various contexts and conditions. People had mixed feelings about trees, as these images and the accompanying quotes suggest. However, it was generally not the species, but the level of visible maintenance and care that mattered most to people. One thing was very clear from these discussions: people really wanted a say in what trees go where. Finally, we asked people about their aspirations for a cool future city. Discussions focused largely on improved accessibility, amenity and sociality. People wanted better access to swimming pools and public drinking water, better access to so-called assembly buildings including shopping and community centres on extremely hot days, and better access to riverside parks with high quality shade, such as the beautiful Tench Reserve on the Nepean River pictured here. These are all aspects of the commons which are critical to preserve but also to develop anew, as over time public infrastructures have fallen into disrepair or have been removed to make way for new developments. The next phase of our research involves working with partners in development to explore how the concept of cool commons, shared places, resources, practices and knowledges that support cooling might be incorporated into the design of new housing in ways that support the existing social fabric and grassroots adaptations of communities. Thanks for listening.